I am not defined by the man who tried to control me. I am defined by the moment I chose to walk away. Oh, hello everyone. Hello. So I'm going to tell you about my story. And unlike Bijna, this is actually the first time that I'm telling it on a public platform. And I'm going to try and get through it without falling apart. So you'll have to bear with me, okay? So people often look at me now and they see someone who actually has it all together. I have 3 children, a respected, high-flying career. I have a polite confidence. And on the whole, normally when I'm on a podium talking about what I love talking about, I have a steady voice. Now, they see all my photos and all my achievements, and they see the surface. And from the outside, my life looks very organised and actually quite ordinary. And because of that, people assume and they understand the rest. But here's the truth. I became very good at making myself small enough to fit into everyone else's expectations. Just because someone looks fine doesn't mean they're safe. Just because someone carries things quietly doesn't mean the load isn't unbearable. That's the trick of living in 2 worlds. The one others see and the one you survive. So the beginning. So I met the boy I thought I was going to spend the absolute rest of my life with, and I was only 17 at the time. Young love feels like an absolute destiny at that age, and everything feels big, dramatic, and important. He was charming, he was consistent, he was incredibly persistent. He courted me for about 10 years, and then we got married. To the outside eyes, he was absolute devotion, like loyalty, like the sort of partner anyone would be lucky to have. And I come from a home where culture is strong, where family honour matters, where daughters are taught to be respectful, to be quiet, and to be compliant. But even within a shared culture, the weight of tradition can fall differently on a girl. And from a young age, I grew up seeing that men led and women followed. This didn't feel strange to me. It was all I knew. It was learnt behaviour. And there was love in my home, but there was also control. I learnt to adapt, to keep the peace, to make myself easier. And those lessons stay with you for a lot longer than you actually think. So I became a wife, then a mother, and then quite a good surgeon. And I studied, I achieved, and I built. And yet for years, I couldn't see that I was building on a ground that was cracking beneath my feet. People think abuse arrives suddenly, a blow, an explosion, a moment of violence, but often it begins quietly. At first, it was small things, jokes that didn't feel like jokes, questions that didn't feel like curiosity, concerns that didn't feel like care. Then the changes became rules, who I could talk to, where I could go, what I should wear, what time I should come home, what the children should or shouldn't see. And then the monitoring began, the live location sharing, the phone checks, the car tracking, the messages scanned, the reassurances demanded. He started creating narratives, accusing me of affairs I never had, while he lived a separate life with secrets I didn't know about. It was projection. But back then, I didn't recognise that word. Narcissistic abuse is not loud at first. It's slow. It's consistent. It's strategic. It was a drip that became a river that then became a flood. It sands away your sense of self, and you start to apologise for things that aren't actually your fault. You justify behaviour you would never tolerate from anyone else, and you lose the ability to trust your own instincts. You think you're staying for the children. You think you're keeping the peace. You think you're doing what a good wife does. And all the while, you disappear. I blamed myself. I believed I had done something to deserve this. Years of cultural conditioning, plus years of gaslighting, made me believe that I was the problem. I hid bruises, sometimes literal, sometimes emotional. I learnt to tidy my pain into neat corners. But children see more than we think. My 2 daughters carried a silent weight they could not describe. The youngest, a boy, was adored, almost used as a shield, and that created another tension entirely. Abuse changes shape depending on who is in the room, but it's always there. I want to tell you about a moment that was so ordinary that it could have passed without meeting or meaning anything, but it didn't. I went to get my lashes done. A simple appointment, one he would approve of, a little moment of allowed self-care. My lash tech looked at me, like really looked, and said, "This isn't right." So she gave me a code word and a number and said, "If anything happens, you call me and you say this word and I'll know." That moment was a lifeline disguised in mascara. It is powerful when someone sees what you've been taught to hide. A few weeks later, I took the children to a friend's house. He allowed it. He always approved of things he could track, so I thought I was safe. What I didn't know was that my friends were already watching, already worried. So the moment I stepped through the door, one of them handed me a very large glass of wine, and the other placed a phone in my hand. And before I even realised what was happening, the police had been called. A police officer named Simon said to me plainly, without hesitation, "You are not safe. He is a perpetrator and you are at high risk. If you stay, there is a very real possibility that he could kill you, and then he will kill himself." Not a threat to dramatise, not a warning to shame me. It was a fact, delivered with urgency and the utmost compassion. It was terrifying. And it was the first time someone had said out loud what I had been whispering internally for years. Sometimes you need someone to name your danger before you can name it yourself. Leaving is not a single brave moment. It is a series of terrifying, shaking decisions made with a heart still tethered to fear, to guilt, to culture, and to the unknown. You leave physically before you leave emotionally. You leave emotionally before you leave mentally. You leave mentally long before you truly feel free. There is paperwork to file, court to face, support systems to build. There is the weight of family expectation, parents who had no idea. Cultural pressure that says, keep the peace, endure, don't shame the family, don't leave. But silence is how generational trauma survives. Speaking is how it ends. And I realised that guilt had been used as a leash. Guilt had convinced me to stay. Guilt had told me that choosing safety made me the villain. But guilt is not the same as responsibility, and responsibility does not mean staying in danger. People often imagine winning as triumphant, glamorous, defiant, but winning actually looks like this. Waking up without dread, listening to your children laugh, answering your phone without hesitation, walking into your home without rehearsing your explanation, planning something for next week without worrying about the consequences, and looking in the mirror and recognising the woman staring back at you. Winning is reclaiming your voice, reclaiming your decisions, reclaiming your safety. And for a long time, I believed that holding everything together quietly was strength. Now I know strength is allowing others to help you carry the parts that are breaking. So here is what I want you to remember. Fear is not weakness. Fear is information. If you feel unsafe, it matters. If your voice is shrinking, it matters. If you're apologising More than you are breathing, it matters. If someone you love is behaving differently, watch them, ask them, believe them. Small interventions save lives. A code word, a spare room, a conversation that breaks the spell of isolation. And if culture or community tells you to stay silent, remember, culture evolves because someone dares to disobey the parts that harm. So here is my manifesto, for myself, for my daughters, for anyone silently living in fear. You do not owe your safety to tradition. You do not owe your survival to someone else's comfort. Silence is not dignity. It's imprisonment. You're allowed to leave. You're allowed to choose peace. I am not defined by the man who tried to control me. I am defined by the moment I chose to walk away, by the future I'm building from here, by the women and children that I will help by speaking out. If my story does anything today, let it give you permission to recognise danger, permission to ask for help, permission to believe you deserve safety, and permission to walk away long before the world tells you it's bad enough. To anyone listening who feels trapped, you're not alone. You're not imagining it. And you do not have to wait for someone else to save you. There is a path out, and your life is absolutely worth walking it. Thank you.
That was amazing.